The Steelers are reeling while Joe Burrow and the Bengals are rolling, trying to gain a miraculous playoff berth. AQ, set this one up for us. What do you expect in this game?
Yeah, 3 straight losses for the Pittsburgh Steelers. What I see is the Bengals roll. I think the Steelers secondary is hurting in a very big way. I think their defensive line carries them right now, but Cincinnati is rolling. You nailed it. I think offensively, they are playing at an unbelievably high level. Joe Burrow is having an MVP type season. T. Higgins playing out of his mind. Jamar Chase out of his mind. They lose Chase Brown with a high ankle sprain this past week. May play in this game. He's trying to do everything he can to play, but they got Khalil Herbert. They made a trade for Khalil Herbert at the trade deadline, so they got a guy, right? So you're not worried about that. Gesicki's playing really well. Cincinnati's got all the makings except for their defense, which sucks, by the way. Their defense is playing terrible, but they played better this past week a little bit, and they're doing some things with Mike Hilton that they haven't done really. They're getting the old Mike Hilton back. They're blitzing him more. They're doing some things that we're able to see some of the old Cincinnati defense. But for me, I think the Bengals beat up on the Steelers. The Steelers are going the wrong direction heading into the playoffs. Offensively, I think they're trash. I've said this numerous times. Being from Pittsburgh, I keep getting crushed by all the Pittsburgh fans. It's okay.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's true. I think they're trash on offense, but defensively, they're going the wrong way as well. This is going to be another loss for the Steelers.
Some will say, you know, how Pat McAfee just keeps it real in Indianapolis, that you are that to the city of Pittsburgh. So we appreciate you calling out the team when they need to be called out. Now, AQ mentioned Joe Burrow. He's throwing for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns in 8 straight games. Maybe he's sneaking into the MVP conversation, Jay. Maybe Joe Burrow gets in there. Colt, have you ever seen a stretch like this for a quarterback?
No, I haven't. I mean, and he definitely should be. If they make the playoffs, he should definitely be in that conversation. I mean, this dude is on a tear. 8 straight games of 3 touchdown passes or more. Listen, I know he's got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, who are monsters. And he has the ability to find the one-on-ones. If they double team one, he's throwing to the other guy. They're very good complementary receivers. I mean, they're both ones. It's unbelievable. But what Joe Burrow has been able to do, it's like he's on the Joe Flacco Super Bowl run from several years ago. He makes plays. He's clutch. He figures it out every game. They've scored over 30 points like almost every game this year and still found ways to lose, right? But if the Bengals somehow sneak in the playoffs, they are a problem for people. I know they're going to have to go on the road, but seriously, Joe Burrow is playing. You know, he is playing so good. We talked earlier in this show about if you were to start a franchise, would you want to have Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert? You know, that was a fun conversation, a fun talk. I love both those guys, but listen, Joe Burrow is on another level right now. I mean, he is playing at an MVP caliber level. He's carried this team, and at the end of the day, he's got some dudes around him that can run and catch. He's finding ways to get them the ball accurately. And just when a play needs to be made and the ball's in Joe Burrow's hands, he's made it every time this year.
Yeah, speaking of those dudes that he has on that team, he's got this guy, T. Higgins, who had 3 touchdowns in the last one, including the overtime winner. He's the number 2 on Cincinnati because Jamar Chase is leading the Triple Crown, receiving yards, catches, touchdowns. He is probably a 1 on most teams in the NFL. Jay, what makes T. Higgins so unique?
Oh, his size, his length, his ability to go get the ball. He can contort his body, the 50-50 balls, the back shoulder balls. He can run by with the fade balls. But I like his physicality on in-breaking routes, the basic cuts, the slants. He caught a touchdown on a slant last week. Not a lot of guys want to go in there, in between those hashes, man. It's dangerous territory, but T's a big guy. He can handle it. He's a good possession guy. He can run after the catch okay. So really his only weakness is probably his long speed, but he is fast enough to run by people still. So that's nitpicky. 34 touchdowns in 5 years. Obviously a great player on a great team with a great quarterback. See how he does next year on a different team with another quarterback who won't be Joe Burrow.
Maybe Herbert. Maybe that guy you mentioned earlier, Cole. Maybe he's going out to sunny San Diego. Now let's go back to someplace that's gray all the time. Pittsburgh, AQ. And I'm going to tee this one up for you, right? I'm going to tee this one. You've mentioned their lack of explosiveness on offense. Is there any chance that the Pittsburgh Steelers can make a run in the playoffs?
No. They're going to be one and done again. It's going to be one and done again. For, I don't know how many times this is going to happen. Either they don't make the playoffs. I mean, since 2011, I think, as the last time that they made a run in the playoffs. That was obviously whenever they lost to Green Bay in the Super Bowl. But since then, they're one and done or they don't make it. And it's interesting because they've had a very good defense over the course of the last 15 years. They really have. And it's all been under Mike Tomlin. They've had that great defense. They just haven't been able to win that game in the playoffs. And here we are again. And they have no explosion on this year's team. Their offensive line's average at best. And Russell is average at best. We can call it what it is. Without Pickens, he's even worse. Pickens makes him a little bit better because he can throw it up and hit some 50-50 balls. But they just don't have any of the explosion of any of the other AFC or NFC teams going into the playoffs this year.
So what you're saying is it's a great coaching job by Mike Tomlin and Arthur Smith and these guys to even
extend
be in
them
a position to make the playoffs.
Or there's a lot of terrible teams out there for them to get 8 wins.
You gotta go. Like we can't just be satisfied with making the playoffs and going home a weekend. I mean, you might as well book your Cabo trip the week before. You might as well.
Well, you know who's not satisfied? Us, the Clean Pocket Podcast. We need 20,000 subscribers, and we need you to get us there, all right? We are not the Mike Tomlin of podcasts. We're like the Kansas City Chiefs. We're bringing the heat week in and week out. Drop the like, drop the subscription, drop a comment in there. Let us know if you think Pittsburgh's going to make a run or not. All right, Colt, the Bengals might be in a position where it's a little bit too much, a little bit too late. But if they were to make the playoffs and all the scenarios happen where the Denver Broncos lose, the Miami Dolphins lose, and the Bengals get in, can this Bengal team make a run?
Absolutely. I would not want to play the Bengals if they find a way to make the playoffs. Listen, all their weapons on offense, Joe Burrow, the way that he's played this year, they'll be going on the road and they'll be scoring points. You're going to have to figure out how to score more than 30 points because that's what the Bengals are going to put up on you. I know their defense has struggled, but the playoff defense for the Bengals over the last several years when Joe Burrow's healthy, we obviously know they're hard to beat. They made it to the AFC Championship several times. They made it to a Super Bowl. Listen, they know what that's like. They're just crossing their fingers, hoping that they can find a way to sneak in. But if they do, absolutely, man, they can make a run. They'd be scary. I wouldn't want to play Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Chase Brown and these guys. No way.
They could make a run right up to Buffalo and then get run out of town and go right back home to Cincinnati. That's what would happen. Because there is no way in hell they could stop Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills from scoring on every single possession.
Well, Russell Wilson saying, hold on, Jay. Russell Wilson saying, hey, last time we played, I threw for over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Steelers' offense has struggled, but not the last time we played the Bengals because the Bengals' defense, like AQ said, stinks. Can Russell Wilson do that again?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, he threw the ball 19 times for 214 yards to Najee Harris, Cordero Patterson, Pat Freiermuth, and Jalen Warren. These are all balls right in between in the flat and right over the ball on checkdowns and things of that nature. So for sure he could do that again and sprinkle in some big plays to George Pickens. George, would you just settle down and run your route, please? And quit being so emotional when you don't get the ball and acting like a child. I mean, play the game of football and get the ball when it comes your way. Otherwise, run back to the huddle, get ready for the next play. Driving me crazy. So yeah, I think they can do it again because we all know Cincinnati's defense is not very good. Trey Hendrickson's a great player. He's on pace to be another Pro Bowler. Other than that, their defense, Hilton, I guess, is okay. But yeah, they can do it for sure. At Pittsburgh, we all know how hard that place is to play at. So for sure, I believe the Steelers can and may win this football game.
Want to win money watching football? With Underdog, you could win up to 1,000 times your cash just by picking higher or lower on your favorite players' stats, like whether or not your team's running back will score a touchdown this weekend. Millions of fans have won billions of dollars on Underdog. Will you be next? Sign up now to get a free pick for your first cash entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. Download the Underdog app or visit UnderdogFantasy.com to get started today.
All right, Jay, you sold us on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who do you have winning in this game?
Cincinnati.
I thought I had him, boys. I thought I had him.
I think at the end of the day, Pittsburgh really doesn't have anything to play for, so maybe. But I know Tomlin's going to coach these guys to play at Pittsburgh. They're not going to let down your Steeler faithful. They're going to.
That's what I was about to say, hard. Gruden. You just said the same argument, and then you went with the Chiefs. Now you're going to get this.
It's a tough call, Justin.
Idiot.
Pittsburgh led. I'm going to take Pittsburgh.
Thank you. We got him, boys. All right, I got the Bengals. AQ, who do you got?
I got the Bengals as well, but Gruden's not making a horrible pick because here's the one thing that we haven't talked about, and this is kind of what I always go back to. The Cincinnati Bengals offensive line, struggling. They are struggling. Joe Burrow is doing all of this in spite of the fact that he has to get the ball out in 2 seconds, basically, every single time, or make something out of nothing, scramble, step forward, getting hit, throwing some sweet pass that he does. But Bengals win this one because they're going to be resting Cam Hayward and some guys over there on Pittsburgh side, in my opinion.
Colt?
Yeah, they'll probably be resting TJ Watt too. You know, he's been a little bit banged up. I don't know. I mean, listen, it's hard to go against the Steelers at home late in the year. When it's cold, when there's playoffs on the line, I know they're in, but they want to put a good performance together before they roll into the playoffs, whoever they face. But at the end of the day, man, I'm taking the Bengals. And I hope the Bengals make the playoffs because Joe Burrow's been on a tear. It's unbelievable what he's done. And they are a scary football team if you let them in. So I think that the Cincinnati Bengals, to take everything out. They're playing good football. They're on a run. They go down to the Steelers. They whip the Steelers. And then they wait after Saturday night to see the games play out on Sunday and if they sneak in or not. But I just think it's too much for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the Bengals are just too good on offense.
Yep.